Okay, we're now live. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Behind the Comics. I'm your host Sean Fuller, and today we're sitting down with one of the leading voice in independent comics, Jason Reeves.
Hey.
The creative mind and publisher behind 133 Arts Publishing. If you ever heard of OneNation, you already know that this series isn't your average superhero story. It takes us deep into the world where power, politics, and purpose collide. Following Deacon Taylor, a soldier turned human superhero in the middle of the Gulf War, who became a legend. Jason not only tells incredible stories, he's also built a platform for other creators to thrive. So today, we'll be talking about his journey, the mission behind 133 Arts, and of course, OneNation's Kickstarter that's in the late stages until October 31st, basically the end of the month, guys. So grab your pen, grab your tablet, grab your curiosity, and let's get into it. Welcome, Jason, to Behind the Comics. For those meeting you for the first time, can you tell them a little about your background and how your creative journey in comics began?
Oh man, it's such a long story. So I've always been a illustrator. I've been drawing since I was like 4 years old. I've always loved superheroes and cartoons and just straight up manga. I've always loved, for as long as I can remember, I've always loved this kind of medium. So when I first discovered my first comic at the age of like 8, like X-Men Classic, Claremont, writing those books, when I first discovered that, I knew that was the medium that I wanted to work in, right? And I used to trace Marvel and DC comics like on typing paper and like trace the panels that I liked, but then I would sort of creatively link them together in their own story.
Would you do the big splash pages or like the individual panels?
All of them. Like anything that kind of, like I would create my own stories with their characters, but if there was a panel that I like, I just trace it. And that's kind of like that kind of, when you do that kind of stuff, you sort of teach yourself how to draw and whatever. Like my favorite artists were like Jim Lee.
I did that with Vegeta and Dragon Ball Z, and yes, I draw that guy a lot.
Over and over, right?
Yeah.
So like I would trace, like there was one of my favorite books was Captain America back in the day. And Ron Lim, when Ron Lim was drawing Captain America, I just love the way he drew those things. Like Ron Lim is like a combination of Jim Lee, at least back in the day, a combination of Jim Lee and Art Adams. So it really resonated with me. And I used to just steal his panels. Like he would be drawing a U.S. agent, but I turned him back into Captain America. And you always want Captain America versus Batman or Spider-Man, or you know what I'm saying? So
so you like doing cross universe things, yeah.
Yeah, so I would take panels, but redraw them to fit the story I was making, and that's how I learned to do comics, or at least the beginning stages of
it. Hey! I say everyone starts off by finding that one thing that motivated him to actually liking something, right? So, what inspired you to start 113 Arts Publishing? Was there a particular moment that made you want to build your own publishing company?
I feel like we all start out, especially whatever comics we first see, we want to work for that publisher. So I wanted to draw the X-Men. X-Men are my favorite superhero team. I'm a huge fan of X-Men. So I that was my thing. I was like, I'm gonna draw X-Men. But it's almost like getting in the NBA drawing for mainstream comics. You know what I'm saying? Like you gotta jump. Not only do you have to figure out how to audition for these editors, but you have to wow them, and you have to network really well, and you got to be almost all things to several people. And it's a hard thing to do when you're a young guy trying to
That sounds like IT job.
Oh
Like,
man,
you
is
are
it
you trying
like
to work for
that?
Google? There's a process, okay? You're gonna do it to
I'm
people.
telling you, when people are on the top rung, they get to say what the rules are.
True, true.
Um, so I tried that for a while. I used to go to San Diego Comic Con and do portfolio reviews and try to network with editors, and there just was no traction. And like a lot of other Black artists, we also saw that there's there's just this big gap between being a Black fledgling artist and trying to make your way into the industry just because of America, man. Like America
Mhm,
is set up to favor um white artists or favor mainstream artists,
mhm.
and there's a lot of hidden bigotry. Some of it is not so hidden, obviously, especially now, but like there's a lot of hidden bigotry going on,
Mhm.
where people are not they're not telling you how the playing field is set up. And as a young artist, that's hard to navigate. As a young
I,
writer,
I
that's hard to navigate.
I tell people the difference in the West versus the East when it comes to understanding racism and or how it plays out and stuff is that in the East they will just tell you, but in the West they will not tell you. There even a reason why they made the decision, but they won't
Right,
tell you. They just learn that there are other acceptable means by which we can generalize it. That means the same thing.
right. And,
It's like,
and
oh, you don't qualify for your credit score. Was your credit score really the issue, or is the fact that they just didn't want to lend to you?
exactly, exactly. And that's historical, but
Yes.
then, and I'm from the South, so racists will call you a nigga to your face. Like
Mm-hmm.
they'll bam, you know what I'm saying? So it's jarring when it's underlying, and they'll just be like, "Oh yeah, I mean, what can I tell you? Your stuff is good, but then you leave the interview without any email or information on how to contact these people. And that's kind of like a tell. You know what I'm saying? And that's not to say that skill doesn't necessarily go into it, because it does. Um, but there are other forces working against you beyond skill. And
Mm-hmm.
again, that's hard for a young artist to navigate when you don't know everything
What
you're
your
up
lack
against.
is, when you don't understand
Yeah,
what the lack is.
yeah. It'd be one thing if the playing field was level and you were like, "Oh, my skill isn't up to par," but that's not always the case.
Yeah, and,
So
and I see a lot of, and I met people that even they got the opportunity to be artists and be paid for their art while their skill were improving.
exactly,
Mm-hmm.
exactly. That's like part of my ministry right now. Like I'm always preaching about how mainstream artists or white artists or whatever are allowed to grow into their craft,
Mm-hmm.
and they don't have to be there as soon as they get there. Like I talk about Invincible all the time. One of my favorite comics. Like I love action superhero stuff. That's like my thing. And I've been on Invincible since day one, right? But Corey Walker and then later Ryan Otley weren't the artists that they started out to be, right? Like, I mean, weren't
Mm-hmm.
the artists that they ended up. They're amazing artists right now, but they
Mm-hmm.
were given almost 100 issues in several years to become who they are. And that's the same thing with all our favorites, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
Jim Lee, Silvestri, like, I'm a 90s kid. So the Image Seven are like my hierarchy of artists. And I always talk about comics in terms of artists because I'm an illustrator myself, but
Mm-hmm.
writers too, right? Nobody starts out fully formed, but for some reason, Black and minority artists have to be there immediately. And that's very frustrating for me. And so I'm always preaching about that. That's a pain in my butt.
So was that the reason why you created your studio publishing company?
Absolutely. I could not find a way to get my foot into the door of mainstream comics.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to do comics that reflected who I was and who I was becoming. And I didn't see a whole lot of Black characters that were from the South, from New Orleans like me, who talk like me. You know what I'm saying? So I was like, yo, I'm going to create my own book. OneNation was the first book that kind of stuck in my head and was like, yo, this is what we're going to do. So in 2007, I started creating it with my homeboy John, my co-creator. And we didn't like it didn't get to a fully formed comic until 2000 later in 2012.
So how
And
many years
that's
you been working on it by that point?
we 2006, 7 to 12,
Okay,
about
12 years.
6 years at that point.
6 years. Sorry, 6 years. My
Yeah,
bad.
yeah, 6 years at that point. Um, it's getting on up there, man. Been working on it
No,
for
no,
years and years.
listen. I want everyone to know this thing takes time, okay?
They
Some
really
people have
do.
been working on it for 12 years, 30, 20 years and still ain't got it yet.
Here's the thing: it takes time and capital,
Mm-hmm.
right? Those two
Mm-hmm.
things are hard to generate for indie creators because okay, if you can find the time away from work and family life or whatever to create that,
Mm-hmm.
now how do you get it into physical form to sell it or even digital form to sell it, you know?
I used to always like to bring up a book, be like, the goal is to always make it into the physical, right?
There it is.
Exactly. I'm
There
gonna
it
make
is.
you do it too. Don't be bad. Yo, always have more. So what does the name 113 33 arts mean to you? What's the
So
story behind that?
so it's not it's so basic. Like every time people
It was
ask
a
me
street
that,
address.
I'm like y'all gonna be disappointed. It's literally the first email address. You know how they're like, you can't be Jason Reeves, but you can be J Reeves 133. And for some reason that resonated with me. So when in 2006, when I was creating my business, because I was at that point, I was like, okay, I learned enough. I'm gonna be an illustrator. That's gonna be my job.
Mhm.
And I created 133 Art because of the 133 in my email address. And at that point, I wasn't doing comics yet. I was just a freelance illustrator. So
Oh.
133 Art was the name that I came up with for that business. So I was DBA 133 Art. Now we're an LLC, but you
It's
know,
funny, like Berkshire Hathaway is a kind of the same story.
yeah,
It was the fun reason he came up with it. It's just like, oh, he bought a company that used the name. It was like it kind of stick with it. So like
yeah.
it's
I love people's stories who are like, man, I had a dream about it, or this is something I've been building my entire life. Like, or they used to call me XYZ, and that's why I named that. Nah, man. I've
hey, some
always
people like, yo, listen, the name ain't important. Some people's
and
like the name is.
that's what
It's
my head was at.
it,
That's what my head was
I,
at.
I learned I found that the people that has the difference in comics is literally the people that speak the most on it are branding ambassadors and stuff like that. Those guys, when it comes to branding, like, no man, you need to get this and this because branding. Because that's when I remember someone talking to me about meetshawnfuller.com. I was like, I don't get it. I was like, no, you don't understand branding. And I'm like, I don't, but okay. But that
That's
don't mean
it.
I ain't gonna take it.
Well, you know when it really stuck? So my homeboy Adam Cook, shout out to Adam Cook. He's an illustrator as well. He works on he's still in works in games and concept art, and he's amazing cat. Works for a company called Super Genius. And when I showed him my idea for the logo, and I just had this basic idea for it. And he, we usually go back and forth, and he gives me ideas, and because that's how we kind of came up. We learned together when I lived back in Portland, and he, we throw ideas back and forth. So I said, I'm thinking about doing this for a logo. And the thing he came back with is what exists now with the swipe and the paintbrush. And I had never thought of it like that. Like I was like, and that's when the 133 art name solidified because I was like, Adam, you are a genius, bro. Like swipe. So shout out to Adam. Adam basically created that logo.
Okay, man. And so this is what I'm gonna ask. So when did the idea of One Nation first take shape? Was it a story that came out of all at once, or did it evolve over time?
It evolved over time. Time and ideas. It's sort of a superhero slash political thriller slash sci-fi story.
Mm-hmm.
And it just evolved over the stuff that I like. Um, I was watching earlier today. I was watching your YouTube with EA from Deathblade, and I
Yeah.
was shout out to EA. He was just saying it was an amalgamation. Deathblade was an amalgamation of everything that influences him, and the same
Mhm.
with OneNation. Like everything I love, from the Matrix, which is my favorite movie, to anime, to X-Men, which is my favorite comics, to Invincible I mentioned earlier. Anything that I can kind of take in
Mhm.
and sort of regurgitate in
Mhm.
with my
It's like,
own
how do I
feel.
spin this in a way that shows it
Exactly.
differently?
Exactly. It comes out from New Orleans, it comes out from Jamaica, it comes out from,
Ah!
you know, it comes out from everything that is me through that filter. I just throw it in One Nation, right?
Actually,
So
no, that gonna let this next question even better as we segment into about One Nation, right? This is
right,
what for those new to One Nation, right? Because a
right,
lot of
right,
people
right.
like this. What's the central story? What sets it apart from typical superhero narratives?
So what sets it apart is it is really like it boils down to the story of a young man
Mhm.
in his 20s trying to figure out his way in the world. But what if a young man was coming of age and he had these immense superpowers and he could affect the world with a swipe of his hand, or just jumping into the air. This dude can carry a tank over his head. So how would that young black man coming from New Orleans, coming from the deep south, affect the world, especially since he has a sort of sense of justice that he doesn't see coming from a lot of spaces in the world, right?
Mhm.
Like it sort of reflects the times that we're in now. Imagine a young black kid from Chicago having dealt with the raids that they just had there. How
Mm.
would he emerge with these abilities? For sake of argument, abilities like Superman. How would that kid emerge, and what would he do? How would his movement change the world? And that's what One Nation boils down to. Paragon, aka Deacon Taylor, has a strong sense of justice. But the world, man, when you once you get to adulthood, it pulls and pushes you everywhere, and you get ideas from everywhere. And
Mhm.
what may have been a Christian upbringing or what may have been a moral upbringing back in the day, now you're observing all kinds of crap coming from around you. How do you
Mhm.
navigate that? And then to add on top of that, there's superpowers, there's political intrigue, there's people that are just like you that have different backgrounds that may or
Mhm.
may not be positive or negative for your journey. So that's what One Nation boils down to, the story of Deacon Taylor, aka Paragon.
So the series deal with a lot of political responsibility, legacy. How do you
Right.
find the balance in those deep elements, right? Um, the visual, the action-driven story side of it. How you gonna find that balance? Because I'm be honest, if you think about like Fast and the Furious, right? It's all about family. You does the
Right.
basic
Right.
of it, right? Well, you got a
Right.
bunch of different teams running simultaneously here. How
Straight
you
up.
balance that?
I don't know, chaos. Like, so I don't consider myself a traditional writer. I always think of myself as an illustrator first. And
Okay.
in that sort of illustrator's mind, I always want to do what looks cool to me first, right? But now that I'm growing up, now that I'm a grown up and a dad and all that, now that I'm growing up into my craft, and because I've given myself leeway to do that, I'm starting to think of writing more in terms of a writer, right? More in terms of flow, more in terms of narrative, more in terms of theme.
Mhm.
So I would say arc one is chaotic in the balance. It's dope. Don't get me wrong. It's fire. But at the same time, it reflects the chaos of growing into your craft, which I think is actually kind of cool once you read it and get to the end. But arc two that we're writing is like the culmination of everything I've learned. Where arc one might be the culmination of everything that influences me, arc two is the culmination of how I'm learning and building into that craft, right? So I'm trying to and I'm working with actual writers and really good. Shout out to Alvern Ball, Robert Jeffrey, and Greg Anderson, Elise. Shout out to the homies. They're molding me into a better writer, right? Um, just with their talent and skill and friendship alone. But I think the more we go on, the more cohesive and less chaotic and more thematic the story gets.
Okay.
So I think it's an ongoing process, though, which is what's really cool to me when you can grow into your craft, right?
And that
It's
was
not
where I
even
was going to tag it back onto, right? Because I'm
yeah,
like, the idea of being able to grow into it, you might have a lot of different. Everyone has different influence in their lives, right? And I find it very not authentic that I am unlimited in my way of expressing that. So
right,
so some days I'm like, I might do some stuff that's like, why did you do that? Like, yo, did you not see what happened on the news today? Like, what?
right,
It's like, but normally I wouldn't. But today it was just like that. It was like that. So
right. I
it's
love
good
the
that.
idea of being able to put that emotion and that and be reactionary in your
Hmm.
writing. And that's what I'm seeing as I'm going into R2, because R2 started one way and the
Hmm.
narrative was pointing in one direction.
Hmm.
And as a result of current events, now it's pointing somewhere else. It's like I can focus my anger, I can focus my emotion, I can focus my frustration, I can focus my joy
Hmm.
into another narrative pointing another way. And again, like I never thought of myself as a traditional writer, but I realized the fun in that journey being able to do that. And like I will say this. Well, I'll save it for later. Part of that is my advice, will be my advice to the younger versions of us out there. But anyway, continue.
Okay, okay, I understand. So you introduced the tent, a group of superheroes, right? What
Mhm.
makes them unique compared to a traditional team like the Avengers or Justice League?
So the Justice League are the gods, right? Like they float on top of us and they kind of look down in the sense of they're not looking down in a negative way, but they're looking down to make sure we're doing what we're supposed to do or they can maintain the status quo. The Avengers are similar. They kind of walk more among us, but
Mhm.
they're like a gang, they're like the police, right? They
Mhm.
come in 10th are very different because their ministry is based in philanthropy. The 10th organization is a philanthropic organization. It was created to walk amongst the people and sort of be with the people in their struggles.
Hmm.
So, like in
That's a
R2, when you see
different.
10th, huh?
That's different. I have to give
Yeah,
it time.
yeah. I thought it added an extra wrinkle to this sort of ensemble team dynamic, right?
Hmm.
So Sundiata is the head of the organization. It was his idea, and they work out of it used to be a movie theater called the Lafargue Theater, and they reformatted it into a community center in the heart of Los Angeles, right before the riots. So, or the uprisings rather. And they kind of run classes and they do things like cancer screenings and all
Hmm.
that. And what they do is they use their powers to in their philanthropy. And
Hmm.
it becomes a problem because not only is their philanthropy starting to spread, but they have the muscle, so much muscle so that they almost like the status quo has a problem shutting them down, like
I can see that. I can see that.
yeah. So and
It's
that's
like.
all part of Sundiata's plan because he's the man with the plan, right? So they're philanthropists. They what they do, like how the government may fund the Avengers
Mhm.
and how Batman or whatever may fund the Justice
Justice
League, the
League, yeah.
people fund the 10th Foundation, right? They're walking amongst us, not above us, kind of thing.
I can see the concept of someone trying to disrupt such an agency, right?
Yes.
Because it's kind of like, I remember a streamer recently says he turned off donations. I know every top streamer is like, why did you do that? Why you set that precedence? Because the issue is the precedence of it, right?
Right.
So it's a very, and so for people that don't like to disturb the status quo, because guess what? If you break this, the reason why they hate it, because then it forces them to kind of to identify and kind of say, why didn't you do that?
Right.
Why was it hard for
Right.
you to do that?
It's like an indictment of your system now.
Yeah,
Right.
and they
Like it's
hate
like,
that. It's
yeah.
like, don't put no. I don't want you bringing nothing to in light of my stuff. Leave my stuff alone.
No one wants to break the status quo, especially when they found their niche in the status quo.
Hmm.
Like what corporations tend to do, they're like, find your niche, whatever, blah blah. So, you know, Drake have a fire line from back in the day. He said, "Now that I got all the cards, they playing chess now." You know what I'm saying? And that's the thing. Like when you get all the cards, you know what I'm saying? Once they find their niche, they got all the cards. But then Sundiata comes, flips over the board. Now we playing chess. Oh, now we have to relearn some stuff. I mean, that's why. That's why when things come and disrupt the status quo, there's a big contingent that has to come and sort of restructure it back to the way it was, right? Take streaming, for instance. Streaming was like Netflix, just Netflix, no commercials. You pay one rate and you get all these
Hmm.
shows and all these movies. And then the streaming wars happen. And now we're adding into the mix commercials. You got three different rate plans. You know what I'm saying? Like all of that stuff came and sort of turned everything back into cable when we were
Exactly.
free of cable,
I'm
right?
paying more for the same thing I used to have.
And you have to pay for, well, you don't have to, but the opportunity is there for you to pay for more than one service. So yeah, now you're paying more than you were paying the first time, and you have less control. And it's sort of like the system coming back, regenerating, and sort of restructuring itself back to what it was before the disruption.
Hmm.
And soon the out in the 10th are the damn disruption. Like that's what I'm writing about.
Oh Lord, there's so much that, hey, we could have just the representation of the tent could have been its own show. Okay,
Yeah.
so I thank you for doing that. So this is what so we're going to switch on to your creative process, kind of your publishing insight, because this is where I call it the experience show its form, right?
Okay.
So when you develop a story like OneNation, like how do you collaborate with your creative team, like your artists, your writers, your letterers,
Mhm.
to bring your vision to life? How are you doing that right now?
I always start with a massive outline. That's what I'm doing for Arc 2 right now. Like I'm like digging in even before we got jumped on this live. I was like digging in to the outline and trying to figure out the beats of it. And I have a ton of ideas for OneNation just going on at all times. The issue is to disseminate the new ideas into the old track that I came up with a long time ago, because I know where the story is going to end. But because we're being creative and we're putting our new themes and new narratives into it, and kind of amalgamating and developing, you got to constantly go back into it. So there's a lot of new ideas and stuff that are going into this new arc, this sort of empire arc of OneNation, uh that we have to, we kind of got to get we have to get it structured. So that's where I start. And then I shoot it out to my writers and I get feedback. And then, we go back into it again. And once that's done, I just let the writers do their thing. And we come back. I might, rework, we might rework some dialogue and reposition things. And then we shoot it out to our artists. Shout out to Mario Teresi. He's the main artist for OneNation right now.
Hmm.
He comes back with some cool stuff. then we shoot it to the colorist, then we shoot it to the letterer, and we're out the door. I like the process to be as streamlined as possible because I don't think comics is rocket science. Like,
It's a system at the end of the day.
right. I don't think it should be super hard, right? Like, it's entertainment at the end of the day. Now, of course, we want people to feel something. We want it to be art, but I lean more towards the side of entertaining art. I
Mhm.
don't necessarily feel like we're changing the world per se, even though we're writing stories about changing the world. If somebody's inspired by it, I love that and I want that. But my goal is always to create an entertaining story with the themes that I like. So I try to make it as streamlined as possible. But also, so once all the art and once the art comes back and everything is said and done, then I print it here. So I format it into a PDF, and then I can print in-house and create the physical product. We print,
Okay.
staple, we cut, and once that's done, we distribute it ourselves. You can get our books on the website, 133art.com, or you can get them on our various Kickstarters. We use Kickstarter as a wing of our distribution service. It's where we get the most books out.
It's pre-sales for a reason.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And it's the best pre-sale apparatus because I always say it's like the big show. People are on there, they frequent it. If you promote it right, you can make some decent money off of it. So I say Kickstarter is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, distributor of comic books in America right now.
Hey, I'm gonna hold you right there because that's its own. Yeah, hey, I'm gonna just say as no. I'm gonna literally make sure we figure out a way to get all these guys that's been killing it in the comic book section and say, yo, we need to have a master class on just that, okay? But for right now, we ain't gonna kill y'all with it. So one of the questions I was gonna ask. So as both a creator and a publisher, right? Uh,
Mhm.
are you choosing which projects or creators you bring into 133 art? How are you doing that?
Absolutely. I'm super curative. Um I I've been since 2012, I've sort of been integrating myself into uh the black comics side
Mm-hmm.
of the industry, right? And we all frequent the same circles a lot of times. So I
Invite.
know a
I
lot of
need
yeah,
an invite.
listen, come through. Come through. What kinds do you go to? Like, we'll
I just wrapped up Baltimore Con yesterday.
okay, a lot of cats were there. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying? Like the homies were there. I wasn't there because I haven't been to Baltimore yet, like to the
Okay.
show and to the city. Well, I was in. I think were we in Baltimore? We were close to Baltimore at one point, a couple
Mhm.
years ago, but I haven't been to
It's my
that show
first
yet.
con. I'm not gonna lie to you. My first, no, it was my first con. My first time doing Baltimore Con, and this is my first year doing cons. Period.
Ah, okay. So
Mhm.
yeah, you fresh, but you'll get into it. Like the
Mhm.
crew is there. You know what I'm saying? But we do a lot of the homies do Black Comics Day in San Diego.
Mhm.
Um, San Diego Comic Con, obviously. New York Comic Con was last week. All the homies were
Mhm.
there,
I
right?
met a
Like,
few people that were there too. They were like, "Yo," I'm saying, "You made it to this one after going through all of that."
listen, listen, man.
Y'all diligent. I'm like,
The, look, the con circuit is big for indie comics. That's where we make a lot of our money. So people really plan to do a lot of those shows, and it's very lucrative for a lot of people. And
especially
like
if you
they're the
have the
gods
formula.
of
Mhm.
Comic Con, man. Look up Stranger Comics, Sebastian Jones. Are you aware of my
Yeah, I
man?
heard it. I heard before. Yes.
Listen, that's one of the gods of comics, man. Comic cons. If you see him and how he works these cons, you'll be inspired. You'll want to do it. That dude can sell water to a whale, right? So uh
So,
you
so
fresh,
yeah.
but
So
you get
how,
in.
yeah, we can move on this one. So, what's one of the biggest challenges and rewards of being running a black-owned independent comic publishing company in today's market?
I think what's rewarding, one of the most rewarding things for me is being able to sort of write my own ticket in a sense, right? This is all I do. I don't have a day job. I do this 24/7.
Hmm.
And uh I get to green light books. I get to say, I get to be the boss of what comes out and stuff. And that's also the gift and the curse because everything is on you, right? You have to make sure that these Kickstarters run. You have to make sure that these books are going out to backers. Your distribution is on point, and when it's not, you have to make the concessions, right?
Hmm.
Um, but it's a gift to be able to make your own schedule and to be able to work on what you love day in and day out. So I said back in 2012 when we did OneNation #1, I was like, if I died today, I lived the dream. So I'm like, everything since 2012 has been gratis for me. Um, but
You made
the
it through
con
COVID, so that's a tale in itself.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So the challenges are kind of the challenges are what we discussed earlier is still almost still some of the same challenges from getting in because being indie and being black, there's a perception that our books are less than, that our content is less than. And
Mm,
so it's a lot harder to break through all the noise when you're trying to contend with that. And to we want to reach more people,
hmm.
and we have to figure out we're about, I would say, we're like a century behind Disney and
You
Warner
know
Brothers
what?
and all these big countries.
This this leads to a very important question that I actually wanted to ask, and that
Okay.
is because you're talking about filling the gap right now. So
Yeah.
how do you see platforms like Kickstarter, social media, or even AI tools, right,
Mhm.
reshaping the indie comics and how they're made and marketed?
I think I think it's savvy to be able to you should get savvy in using the tools that are available to you.
Hmm.
Um, I think the issues with AI are deep because there's a there's the scraping, right? Like
Hmm.
stealing art. It's not it's not dope.
And here's the thing, though, because I'm an IT person background, right? So I
Uh-huh.
program. I've seen these applications before. To me, AI is just the new kid on the block, right? There was WYSIWYG
Yeah.
before it and everything. And just like with WYSIWYG, like let's look at it for example.
Hmm.
Um, WYSIWYG's job was supposed to replace designers or computer designers because
Right.
it was supposed to say you if you know what it looks like, you should be able to build it with our thing.
Right.
And no one lived up to the hype. The only thing they did was prove why the value of the designers were valuable. And
That's the arc we're on at with AI right
that's
now.
the arc we're on with AI
Yeah.
right now. So it's like everyone there's a statement that everyone says like everyone starts with AI, but no one can finish with it. It's like you are there, and it's good for what I call um it's like the what they call the biases that people have with research or research biases to kind of break people out of that by focusing them on actual results or answers. So it's very good of like answering certain questions when you kind of know where you're trying to go, but
Right.
you're not sure if that's a good idea. So you kind of do your research and just plow through like months of research in 5 minutes. But
Right.
when it comes to execution, and I'm just coming from someone that building AI tools, right? I find that the what they tell you and what it can do are two dichotomies.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It shows up well in the first 5 minutes, and then after the next 5 days, you like, why did I even bother here? and
So so
and
so
and
here's my
it's
thing,
it's
right?
it's
Like
funny.
I think we could have been on a different trajectory with AI if the people who created the louder versions of it were more ethical. It's ethics that's the problem, right? They scraped
I call it
first
marketing.
and asked
It's the-
questions later, and they kind of screwed the whole vibe of it, and also I think I do think it's a marketing thing because they're marketing it as artificial intelligence, and it's not that.
No,
Also,
I'm glad you know that because a lot of people don't know what artificial intelligence means, especially when you think
right,
about tuning machines versus what AI as it is right now. It's
right,
just a very what do they call it? It's learned. It takes massive amount of information to create what I call a standardization
mhm,
response. So that's basically what it's doing. It's basically creating a standardized response based on multiple points of information, which is
right,
basically I'm building a summary based on 100 stuff.
right. And
You
at the
don't
end of
need, huh?
you only get at the end of that you only get homogeny anyway, right?
Exactly. That's why the input don't feel valid after time.
Right. Well, and the problem is they're marketing it to people, and people are expecting artificial intelligence, and
Mm,
after a while, you're getting homogeny, and you don't have creativity anymore, and that kind of X's out creativity. Also, the implications of what it's doing to the planet and how fast it's doing it to the planet is a
mm,
big that's like a big deal breaker, right? So I think the problem is, like remember Jurassic Park? You stood on the shoulders of giants,
mm-hmm,
and you made this thing, and you before you thought about it, you marketed it, you packaged it, and before you asked yourself, you knew that you could, but you never asked yourself if you should, and they should ask
mm,
themselves if they should. But there's a lot of money to be made in that first phase of marketing. A lot of money was made, but now
yeah.
we're finding out like OpenAI is making 8 billion something a year, but it's spending 26 and it's polluting the planet. So it's not sustainable at all, right? So I think and the AI issues aside, I
Mm,
think when we're bringing in Kickstarter, when we're bringing in Canva, when we're bringing in Fiverr and all that stuff, I think the people who are savvy and learn how to integrate that stuff into their models of productivity will come out on top. Now, as an indie artist and as a black man, I want to be ethical in my use of that stuff. That's a
mm,
big I write a book about people being ethical, about philanthropy, about superheroes saving the world. So I want to be ethical in my use of that stuff, and I want to be knowledgeable about which of them are ethical and which aren't, right?
correct.
So that's the charge. I'm an
And
artist at heart, right?
I get it, I get it. And this is a very weird way to transition into our I call it my sponsor segment. So this is me, Trace my bill. Give me 5 minutes. Let me go. Actually, I won't take that long to go do this. Give me 1 second.
Okay. Okay.
Give me 1 second. So, hello, everyone. And if you've been here before, you're kind of sick and tired of me hearing this, but you ain't going to hear me stop saying it. Today's our sponsor is mycomic.ai. It's a product that I built, and all it's about is to help indie comics build their first 1,000 sales in their comic book artists. It's all about building the infrastructure behind your comics. So if you want to find out how it feels to have data-driven intelligence, actually organizing all your information in one place, this is a great place to start. And what I'll say right now was we're in beta, and I'll ask people to just even try, do the free assessment. Just take a look and see what it offers. And from that point, just see what you like and get forward. We look forward to having everyone else with us. Please let us know you want to join our beta program, and we're glad to have you. Thank you very much. Now let's get back to this excited interview that we're having right now. Thank you for
Hey.
allowing me to pay these bills with my AI.
I
It's
guess
so
my
funny.
question with the AI is, and what's always my question as an entrepreneur
Mhm,
is, how do I create my own model? Like, I don't want to
mhm.
use Midjourney. I would like to create my own servers that don't pollute the planet, that can work for me,
All right,
my
I'm going to
own
tell you what the answer
stack.
to that question is. I can answer that question. So when they talk about AI, right, there's two specific dichotomies, right? There's called large
Okay.
language models. This is where you
Right.
talk about open AI, you're talking about Grok, you're talking about all these big guys, right? But
Hmm.
there's another guy in the group, and it's called small language models. That's what
Okay.
you're talking about. Those are
Small.
these are the um they don't take as much energy or hardware or all that stuff that you need. You probably could pull it off on two servers, honestly. But
Hmm.
most importantly, they're very specifically designed to do one thing. They're
Hmm.
not. I
Okay.
should. I'm. If I asked about, for example, let's say I'm doing it for marketing. If I asked it about marketing, it should be very knowledgeable on marketing. But if I ask it about how to make a art line better, it's gonna look at me stupid like, what is this? Okay, don't know what the heck you're talking about. And that's and honestly speaking, even when I look at the evolution of the market in that specific place, that's where it's going to, not necessarily the hardware side of it, but specifically the application development side of it.
Hmm.
um it's like everyone that puts it into like an established system, they're like, it's not pushing out as much as I wanted to do. It's not as a productive tool to my agency as I wanted to do. But then the people that build it to be very specific tool sets
Hmm.
and then put AI behind it, like that. Let's say, oh, for example, if they build a car, something for food truck developers,
Hmm.
and they build that AI tool, and they build an entire tool that use AI just to serve that group, that's
Hmm.
where the explosion in value comes.
Right. Right.
So so that's what we're seeing in the market, and that's what that looks like.
See,
So I just want to make sure I answer that question for you, because there is that person does exist.
and that's the thing for me, right? Like, I was listening to something this morning because I was doing research on the launch of the iPod.
Mhm,
And so Steve Jobs wanted to create, he went in through the process of creating the iPad and through the big launch. But when they first launched it, it wasn't like a crazy hit, right? Because
mhm.
it didn't use it didn't allow Windows users to use it. And then they finally got him to let Windows users use
These are
iPad
so
or
petty.
whatever. But well, his whole thing was, and this is kind of what goes into what we're talking about. He wanted anybody that used it to point back to iTunes, to point back to their platform, because he
Mhm.
wanted every user to be solely on the i platform.
That makes
And I'm
sense.
like,
That sounds like him.
that's why you want your own models, and that's why you want the freedom to create your own models, so that you can point back to your specific platform. And that is always where the money is
Mhm.
when it comes to entrepreneurship, ownership, and really just business in America, right? Or in
No,
the world. You
man,
want people coming back to your thing. You don't want people to go to your Facebook page. You want them to go to your website. You want them to go
mhm,
to your app, your platform. And
mhm.
I think if there's that small language model, again, ethically, can bring more people to 133 Arts platform or whatever, right? Like, that's what I would be interested in. I don't care to ape Jim Lee's art, right?
Okay.
I don't want to. Real
I,
talk, like,
No, I was having a conversation with somebody about a similar topic recently, as far as it contains to like consistency and the value of consistency. They want you to consistently bring your traffic to their platforms,
right?
opposed to bringing to
Because
your
they
platform.
know, because they know that's important, right? They
Yeah.
don't want us to know it's important, but they know how important that is. That's how
Mhm,
you keep your money insular, and
mhm,
your reach and your power insular. But
mhm,
imagine somebody with their own platform that doesn't have to use. I mean, like, a lot of people are going to Substack now because Substack allows people to keep the data.
mhm,
Substack allows you to conglomerate your base in one place,
mhm.
according to the things that I've been reading and hearing. And it sounds really like democratized, I guess is the word I'm looking for.
I wonder if it's similar to like fan base, because I wasn't sure if I wanted to jump on either one of those platforms yet.
Um, Fan base is closer, as I understand it, closer to like TikTok, like a
Mhm,
combination of TikTok and Facebook.
mhm.
Substack has a feed, but I think it's more like the old school blogger models.
Okay.
Yeah. But you can do video, you can do podcasting, you can integrate all that stuff into it. So a lot of people have built out some pretty interesting, like, sort of communities on there. A lot of comic creators too. So I keep looking at it like it's either that or Patreon, but Substack is getting
Wait,
enticing to.
what? So it's either Substack or Patreon?
Well,
Wow.
I'm just saying for the sort of democratized effect of migrating people from your social media platform that's owned by somebody then to a social media platform that's more owned by you. I mean, you don't own Patreon, but the content coming off there, people are literally subscribing to you. Whereas on Facebook, people are coming to your page, I guess. You know?
Okay, so definitely have a lot. As I said, we need a master class on just this thing, right? So I'm not even gonna let this take over the meeting. But I did want to talk about your crowdfunding and your future plans.
Mm-hmm.
You're currently in the late stages of OneNation's Kickstarter.
Right.
What can backers expect from this issue?
So the OneNation omnibus is what we're selling, and it is.
Let me bring that up. Ooh,
there we go. It is 11, 12 years, the compendium of 11, 12 years of OneNation issues. So if you haven't read OneNation, it's the perfect 300 plus page book to read, right? This is our first collected edition, our first trade paperback, and it's huge. So that's what the Kickstarter was for, right? We got about almost 230 people on it.
Let me bring that up real quick. Let me bring that up so people can see the Kickstarter.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Hey guys, I'm going to tell you right now, when it comes to having this much in a page, I can only say that whoever is lifting this or carrying this around is going to have a real interesting time.
It's big. I prototyped it, and so it's pretty damn hefty, right?
Yeah, you see, the thing is, I can see that because of your own print shop. This is going to be a monster.
It's a monster.
Hey, I thought my book was bad, but I was like, what, season 1 at 160 pages, but this is going to make me feel small.
We might be close to 320, and if I get real crazy, like 360. I don't know yet though. I have to design the interior of it, but it's like it's 9 issues of OneNation in there, and it's about Deacon, it's about the 10th, it's about Sundiata, and they're, it's a political superhero sci-fi thriller, right? If you like the X-Men, if you like Invincible, if you like the Authority, if you like Planetary, right? Those are interventionist superhero books, and that's what we're doing over here. The difference is that we're taking it from the POV of a philanthropic sort of superhero organization, and we're coming from a Black person's point of view, right? So we like social justice over here. You know what I'm saying? A big influence is something like Black Lives Matter, Indivisible, that kind of thing. So that's what we're doing. But we got a lot of perks. Our first statue, you're passing that up right there. Our first Paragon statue. Yeah, there we go. Looking real cool over there.
6x4, guys.
Yeah.
I was trying to
I'm waiting on my prototypes to get here, but it's
6x4.
Yeah.
That's tough.
That's tough. Yeah, it's gonna sit on the desk. It's gonna look good. So we have your choice of dust jackets for one tier, and we have several covers you can choose from. And we're trying to reintroduce these characters to our fan base and to our potential fan base, right? And I would say it's not an expensive book for 300 pages either, right? Like it's like $60. Or if you want to do the digital version, that's only $25.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, because I saw it earlier, it's $45 for the soft copy, and hardcover is $65.
Not a hardcover. That's the big boy. You want the big boy. If you like hardcovers, you like putting them on a shelf or you like putting them on a coffee table. Yeah, you want the big boy. You want the hard boy.
Mm-hmm.
But we try to. I'm a businessman, so I be trying to have
Hey, I
different
ain't go-
tiers for people who have different amounts of money. You know what I'm saying? All our fans at different levels come through. And we're going until, so we've ran the campaign that ran in August, and now we're in the late pledges phase. So what that means is the campaign run, but you can still get it, right? You can still get the book after the Kickstarter runs, and we got about 2-ish more weeks. We're gonna cap it off on Halloween, and you can still get the book, if you want to
You
check
just
it
have to
out.
come
If you
directly to
want
you after that. That's all.
Yeah, well, you can come. We're gonna, you can. We still have the 133 Art website. Come
Mhm.
through, come check it out. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, that's what we're making over here, man. Come,
So,
go to the Kickstarter page and watch the trailer and tell me you don't want the book, right? Like, come on.
hey, the mere fact that he had one was like, yo, this dude. So here's the question I was going to ask now, right? Because we're still on the crowdfunding section. So how has crowdfunding shaped your connections with fans and supporters over the years?
I think. Ooh, excuse me. I think that it kind of brings us together in a way that we haven't been able to touch our fans previous. um it's sort of
I'm assuming
like
because I have to go to like
once,
bookstores prior to, so now we get to deal directly with fans.
right, and before it was like it was like conventions only, right? But
Hmm.
now we can, we have our sales online. Like, we talk back and forth directly to people can put comments on here and ask questions. They can, once they back, they can go into their messages and ask me questions directly, fellowship. And again, we're just distributing right to your house. So from you buy the book on this Kickstarter. Once the book is done, it comes straight to you. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's direct sales. So I think it's a revolutionary concept, this Kickstarter. You know what I'm
Hey
saying?
guys, I find I because I'm because it's funny, right? Because when I got started, it's like I realized, especially when I started doing the interview sessions, that a
Mhm,
lot of people were leading, to, especially the more senior guys that's been doing it for a while, and a few
mhm,
new ones, but a lot more on the
mhm.
senior side. They actually have as a part of their production process.
Yeah, it's
Like,
a wing of it's a stream of income, another stream of income for 133 Art. Like, I'm gonna be using Kickstarter for the duration. Like, it's just so, especially now that we're learning how to be how to better promote ourselves, is such a helpful
actually, that
platform.
brings me to the last question before I switch gears again. So, looking
Uh-huh.
ahead, what's the next for One Nation and 133 Art Publishing? Any projects or goals you're excited about sharing?
Yeah, absolutely. So 2026 is going to be the year of another title we have going, Changa and the Jade Obelisk. We finished issue 3 a little while ago, and we're moving to do issue 4 and 5 in 2026, and that's going to be our next Kickstarter. And 2026 we say is the year of Changa. We got a
Mm,
lot of perks and a lot of cool stuff. Another trailer coming for Changa. And what it's about is a merchant trader named Changa Diop, who was ripped from his country as a young child. He was the prince of this country, and they enslaved these pirates, enslaved and marauders, enslaved all his people. And he's trying to amass his wealth again by being a merchant, sailing on the coast of West Africa, getting into adventures. And once he amasses enough wealth and an army, he's gonna go back and take his country.
it sounds like
So
the son of Gaddafi for some reason. Yo.
listen, it's like Conan meets Black Panther, and this first adventure is about him coming across this object of immense power called the Jade Obelisk, and the sorcerer's Bahati is hot on his tail trying to get it from him. So he and his crew on their ship called the Sendibata are like in a race against time to keep this thing from the sorceress Bahati. And we're on issue 3 of 5, and we're trying to cap it off this next year coming, and we're trying to do it big for Changa. So
Hey,
that's our next thing.
hey, the more your process feels more refined, the better you feel about doing new stuff with it. So,
Absolutely, absolutely. And we're working with a company called MV Media, run by my homeboy Milton Davis. He's a black speculative fiction writer, and he
uh,
created Changa, the Changa series.
mhm.
His series of novels, we're adapting Changa and the Jade Obelisk from his series of novels, Changa Safari. So 133 Art came in. We're adapting the comic version of it, and we're partnering to make this thing happen. And hopefully next year, you know, we're gonna promote that thing and make it big.
Hey guys, hey, collaborations are a good thing because even for me, I actually one of my friends got asked me stuff. I'm like, yo, I'm open to collaboration, and so right now we're gonna drop his book for the first time next year. Son of Horai. We're just working on the script right now, and so hey, it's an exciting story. You just want to see it come to life. I'm like, I've been telling him like, hey, we're gonna bring it to life, so don't worry about
Yeah,
it.
man.
All right,
But
so now we're in the
collaboration
last.
is a really, I would say, one of the pillars of being in indie comics, because more hands make light work, man.
Truest words, truest African sayings we ever heard. All right, so we're stepping into our last section, right? This is the part that I've kind of pre-warned you about because I love this section. It's okay.
Okay.
And this would be like, what advice would you give a young creator or publisher who wants to build their own brand or universe like you have?
And that's what I was gonna say earlier. I think uh this is a new piece of advice. I would say build out your brand so that you have enough time, be cognizant of having enough time to grow into your craft. I think had I went back, I would have sort of put that into like put that into the building of the brand, right? It takes time to become who you ultimately are gonna be, and be patient with yourself. Also, be cognizant of promotions, man. Promotions and marketing are huge in this thing. For the past couple years, I've been really like delving into it and trying to figure it out with these Kickstarters, these last 2 Kickstarters, One Nation Omnibus, and our last Kickstarter was called One Nation Stronghold, which is a spinoff of the One Nation series about one of the characters there named Stronghold, aka Damien Strong. He has super strength. He's LGBTQ. He's albino, and he goes on his own adventure with his own villains in the One Nation universe. But with those Kickstarters, our focus was we just had a real struggle breaking that 4-figure barrier. We were making $6,000 and $7,000 and $5,000, right? And I was like, we need to break through to the 5-figure barrier, like in order
That's
to,
what numbers are.
huh?
I said that's where the money's at. When you get past that
But
initial
you
break,
want
you
to
get past production costs and actually can start paying people for real.
Exactly. The more capital you build, the more things you can do, the more other media you can expand to. So, a big mission for me when Stronghold was coming up was to break through that barrier. And we did. You know what I'm saying? Yay, we did it. But now I want to get the upwards of the 5 figures. So we're gonna have to do more promotion and invest more in ourselves to do that. So I would say to the younger versions of us, yo, be cognizant of that. You do have to spend money to make money, but don't spend money wantonly. Learn how to budget, and really, it's smart to pay people that know to show you how. And a lot of that takes study. I've been doing a lot of study on that kind of stuff. I've been looking at places like Launch Boom and Comics Launch and uh, uh, um, other consortiums that promote Kickstarters, that promote comics and stuff like that. And you really want to do your research on that stuff. And then you want to, you know, Lil Wayne got a line. He say, "I took the food from the lion. I took the food from the bears and brought it back to the lions." You want to do that? Get that knowledge and bring it back to your people, and then make your IPs and make your brand flourish. Please do that. Like, we need more black artists, we need more black creators, and we need more successful black IP. There, we will never
Part.
have enough of
That
it.
part.
Yeah,
I was gonna lean into it and say the same thing. I was saying, listen, the biggest thing we need to get through right now, especially in our community, is getting successful IPs. And to me, a successful IPs are just who, first and foremost, that broke the 1,000 sold comic version of their books. Like that's when you can talk to any publishing company and basically you can start talking terms.
and I
Because
will say too, uh, young people, you don't necessarily have to be creators and artists and writers. You can
Mhm.
also be the people that are proficient at promoting this stuff. And there's a big gap because people like me will pay people like you who have the knowledge, right?
I
At
li-
that point, I don't have to do the studying myself because you know
Mhm.
it. And
You already did it.
we have very little in the way of black marketing and promotional entities, companies. So think about that as you're coming out of school, you know what I'm
I would
saying, or
say
as you're
yes,
learning.
and I definitely say that. And I think, for example, I was at a comic. I told you Baltimore Comic Con this weekend, and
Right.
my neighbor right there, she was like the artist, but then she had her friend there with her, like her best friend, and she was more of the salesperson. When I said this lady had a way to get people to just come over to the table, I sat there the entire time just be like,
who, who
yo,
was it?
if you saw one of my books, you're getting hired, okay? Because the way you
Who
bringing
was it?
people over.
Who was it? Who's the
No, she wasn't
creator?
a comic book artist. She was like,
No, I mean,
drawing.
who's the creator who was next to
Um,
you?
I don't have their information up in front of me. Sorry. I wish I could call y'all guys. Sorry, my bad. I'm pretty sure if I find it, I'll point it out to them.
I think
But
Asia
their
Simone was
hustle was tight,
there and
and their I
Jocelyn was there.
no,
She has a book called Bearers.
no, it wasn't a book. It's more like art. So it's more like she did
Okay.
like freelance
Okay.
art. So
Okay.
that's why it didn't pop to my head because I couldn't even talk about what they had because it was like multiple different versions of art.
Okay.
But
Okay.
what I really liked about it was the fact that they had two different skill sets sitting at the table, and it worked harmoniously from my
Yeah.
perspective. And so the idea that you can and the good thing, guys, if you're gonna bring in and be saying I'm gonna fill the gap of marketing and sales for comic book creators, do the first thing I'm going to say is please don't bring the professionalism, the but most important, bring the results and less of the I call it the car salesman stuff. Yeah, and we know what that means. It means you know how to sell something, but not tell me nothing at the same time. So it's like the whether you are driving results, the more likely people want to talk with you and work with you. And I say, guys, fit in where you get in. That's all I'm
Yeah.
saying.
I mean, look, man, you see social media influencers, you see creators, actors, anybody in the entertainment business. A lot of people have teams. You can
Mhm.
be a part of that team, you know. Another
So,
little credo I live by is Henry Ford says, if you can't do it, get the people around you that know how to do it. And I'm saying if you know how to do sales, you can get a lot of creators under your belt and you could make some money for
mhm.
real. As long as, like you're saying, as long as it's result based, you could do some real damage because
Hey,
we are still hungry. Even old heads like me are hungry. And like I
it's
said,
more
we
like you guys
breaking
trying to
these barriers.
consolidate that. Everyone's trying to consolidate that. I call it their niche. Consolidate their ability to consistently print money. Because
Right.
then the minute you can be like, all right, cool, my systems works and I can step away and come back and everything still runs. That's the
Mhm.
goal, especially for the older heads. And
Yeah.
then the younger ones is basically to mature into that ability to do that.
Right.
And
Right.
so,
We want to create a foundation
mhm,
where the younger versions of us can move up, You know what I'm saying?
And I think that's
Because
what's lacking, to be honest. It's
that is
the
absolutely one of the things that's lacking, because we were talking about Icon and Tribe, and back in the day we had crazy selling black comics, but the foundation wasn't created for
Mhm.
the younger versions of those creators to move up. So we kind of we tend to
Yeah,
start the cycle over again. And I
yeah,
hope that that we're learning from that, so we can create the
and I
foundation.
hope so too. And I hope I can be a part of that solution.
Yeah.
I'm being honest. I really want to be a part of the solution because to me, and if you look at different communities, Jamaican community is a good example, but a lot of different communities, you will see that what happens is there are certain niches that what happens, they will bring in people underneath niche and they'll say, not only am I going to allow you to make money in the niche while you're in it, I'm going to teach you to become the next owner in the niche. And
Yes.
you see that, what they call them, like donut shops. I forgot the specific group that runs most of those, or like motels. That was
Mhm.
their entire model. Each
Yeah.
one teach one, and then at a certain point, it's like there's a community of like money that flows between people. That's how the Jewish
And that's
community builds and do their stuff.
what
And
we need to create within the comic book
and I,
industry,
and I think we need.
within our niche.
And I think with and here's the thing, and here's the challenge I'm gonna put out to especially the OS. I'm like, try to do exactly that with while paying the person to do it. So don't say you
Absolutely.
need to pay me to do it. That's what we're
No.
losing a lot of people. Say,
Yeah.
all right, I have a position for you right here, and while you're in this position, you're getting paid to learn how to do it at my level.
Yeah. You need to
That's what I
eat.
want to see come up
Everybody needs
next.
to eat. Yeah.
That's what I
Absolutely.
want to see next. Not the I'll pay, you can pay me. But that's not going. You going to give me the knowledge, but that don't mean I'm going to get the results. I need mentorship
Right.
as I go up, and hey, I'm all for creating that apprentices model
Yeah.
for this process.
That's
Because
literally how I learned. Like, I was an apprentice for 7 months after Hurricane Katrina, and that's
mhm.
how I learned to be an illustrator. Like, a friend of mine, my mentor, he said, "Man, you lost everything. Come stay and learn how to do this job for real." And that's what I learned. Like, I learned how to do this job under somebody. So yeah.
Thank you. I like when someone can say it works for real.
Yeah.
So looking back on your journey, we're in our last two questions. Looking back on your journey, what have been your proudest moments as both a creator and a publisher?
Hmm. Interesting. I I've had I've had a lot of proud moments. I try to live in joy. Um, so I'm one of those dudes. You ask me how you doing, I'm like, can't complain. Like I said earlier, everything is gratis at this point. I'm living the dream. But I had a proud moment recently. Okay, so I went to New York. I didn't get a chance to actually go to New York Comic Con. But I was in New York for another thing. And it just so happens, like, I never remember when cons are, and I booked this thing. And if I was able to go, I would have went, but I ain't feel like paying for no ticket. I was like, if somebody can get me in, I'll go, but they ain't materialized. So I was there for another thing, and we actually ended up going to the Met because we had a free day and we needed to do something with the kid, and we met up with some friends and we hung out at the Met. And when I was in there, I didn't know at all going in, because I never been to the Met before. I've been to New York a couple times, never been to the Met. So we go in there and we're going through the exhibits, and we get to the Afrofuturism exhibit. And I look down, and there's cool things everywhere. I love whenever I go to the museum and I see an Afrofuturism exhibit, I'm like,
They're gonna
so
have some of my stuff future in life. Don't worry, I'll make sure to make an exhibit.
hey, I'm about to tell you. So I go in there, and there's an exhibit about Afrofuturism, and it's sort of like it's like an Afrofuturistic kitchenette, or sort of like a lounge area. And on the table in the exhibit is a book I printed. Lion
Oh!
Man by Rosarium Publishing. So I
Mhm.
printed that book a year and a half ago, and it's by John Jennings, Bill Campbell, Michael Norton Dando, Lion Man is awesome. They just ran a campaign for it in the summertime. You should go look for Lion Man. It's fire. But anyway, we printed that book, and I didn't know. I knew they were bringing it to like schools and education shows and stuff like that, but I didn't know it was in that exhibit. So we were with my friends, and I looked like a big man because I was like, "Yo, I printed that." And they were like, "Come on!" I was like, "Dude, I printed that book." And so I was like, my eyes were huge because I was like, "I'm in the mix. That's crazy to me." And that we were talking about collaboration, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what collaboration can bring to the table a lot of times. Is this is not the first time where I've been somewhere, and because I've worked with John Jennings, or because I've worked with Milton Davis, or because I've worked with Rashad Doucette, my books have been in several different places that I never thought they would be, or that I couldn't get it in there myself. You know what I'm saying? And I've had things on my resume that were serendipitous, but huge things. Like a long time ago, another proud moment was I was working with a company called Arch Enemy Entertainment, and the homie who ran it was like Will Wilson. Shout out to Will Wilson. He passed a couple years ago, but he was a good friend of mine. And Will hit me one day, and this was earlier in my career. He hit me one day and was like, "Yo, you want to draw Batman?" And I was like, "What? For what?" He's like, "You just need to draw Batman and the Joker, and it needs to look like the Dark Knight." And he was like, "Yo, if you do this job, it's gonna be good." And I was like, "All right." And I'm the type of dude that has joy, right? So I try to say yes to everything. And that illustration was for Esquire Online, Esquire magazine. They were doing a psychologist roundup of what the Dark Knight, like the psychology of the Dark Knight movie. So I got to do sort of a tie-in in Esquire magazine for one of my favorite movies of all time, The Dark Knight. Like, it don't get no better than that. Like, your resume is on fire.
Set up good. That's a good setup.
Look, serendipity happens in this thing, and it's because of collaboration a lot of times. Mm-hmm. So you want to be open to that, I don't know, that force in the universe.
You get back what you put out. That's basically what that is.
I hope so. Because I try to put out positivity and I try to put out good things. And these are not two isolated incidents. It always happens. And I hope that it's because I'm putting out good energy.
I feel you on that one, because I feel like these interviews, the mere fact I can give value, I hope one day someone reminds me to say and give value to me then. But at the same time, it's like I always think of it from the standpoint like, don't even think about it. Just do something that feels good and feel like you're doing something great for somebody, and eventually the universe will reward you for it.
My mentor taught me to always add value. That's literally his phrase, add value. When you're doing a job, do your best work. When you're working for an editor, add value. Now, that's not to say let people walk all over you. I ain't about that shit. But at the same time,
that's a completely different skill set.
Yeah,
protecting your values is a completely different skill set, but
one thing doesn't necessarily have to do with the other. But when you're putting your best foot forward and you're adding value, I'm gonna quote The Godfather. Simon Roth always made money for his partners. If you make money for your partners, that does come back to you. So exactly. I always like to add value, right? Yeah, absolutely.
So here's what I was going to ask before I give you a shout out for all your places people can support you. For OneNation, do you see it adopted as an animated series, a live action? What's kind of like the tone what you want to see it go into in its next iteration?
I can see it all. I could definitely see live action. Like, I'm always trying to think of who could be the dude. If today OneNation got signed, I'm trying to get Michael B. Jordan. Like, I franchise Michael B. Jordan right now.
Hey, put it on the universe. We put in Michael B. Michael B.
Let's go.
We got a
Let's
few
go.
action stars that we trying to make you feel. Okay.
Let's go trilogy right now. I got all the stories. You know what I'm saying? Um, so I could definitely see live action. I would love live action. I would love to be EP on my own live action. I actually think too, I might be more interested in a show, like a series, rather than a movie. Like I've been rewatching
Star Trek
Stranger
versus Star
Things.
Wars. Got it.
I've been rewatching Stranger Things, and like 3 seasons on Netflix would make me so proud. Like I would love that. I would love that. I would. We would have to force them to not be cheap about it. Like I want to get. I want 6 billion spending Netflix, not algorithm Netflix, yo. So dear Netflix, I want to get you in your 6 billion era and not your pre Mark Miller era where he was spending money. But um but no, I'll be interested in the series. But also, I mean, man, look, you see clips, you see these fire action clips of animes that you don't even know exist that pop up on your feed. I want an
Hey,
anime with the crazy fighting, like
and some of them been popping up. Yo, it's very interesting how they be popping up in your feed and become very iconic later on.
yeah,
Even though they've been on the platform for a couple years, I think that's some of the stuff I want this platform to start doing. Hey, Netflix. Hey, what Webtoons?
I'll let you
Start
boy.
promoting the people that's been on your platform.
Real talk. I
Yeah.
would love for a Jujutsu Kaisen style One
Um,
Nation anime. I would jump at it. I would leap at it. I would fly. You know what I'm saying? Like high level action, sci-fi, political thriller. You know what I'm saying? Cowboy Bebop, Lazarus. Let's go. That's what
go.
I would. So yeah,
All right, guys.
I would mess with that.
All right,
I would
guys.
mess
So we're
with that.
gonna ask a question. Where can people find you? How to get in touch with you?
You can find the Kickstarter at presale.133art.com. Go and hit that thing up. We're at 229 backers. You can be 230 today. Go get that.
Let's
And let's
let's give
run
me
this
some whole
thing up.
numbers, guys.
Listen, my magic number, we're at 1323 right now, but my magic number was 15. Can we get $2,000 more out, y'all? Let's go. But also,
One,
you
yeah,
can,
the one backer, yeah, the bottom person does pick that one tag.
oh
They
yeah,
get
you get the
230
whole
and two
catalog
thousand
of
dollars a pop.
you get the whole One Nation catalog and you drop that 2 G's. It has happened. Let me tell you, it happened last campaign. That literally happened. I can't tell you who backed it, but if I told you who backed it, you'll be like, oh, right?
Oops.
But anyway,
Ah, that's for
um,
after hours, guys. We ain't tell you nothing.
listen, I can't tell y'all, but it's serious. It's serious. But uh you can also find us at our hub 133r.com. That's what we sell in One Nation, Kid Carvers, Chang and the Jade Obelisk, The Crossing, which is another title, another sci-fi title we're gonna be pumping in a couple years. Watch out for that. Foo Fighters, which was the first online comic at USA Today when USA Today was publishing comics on their website. That's old trivia for y'all. Um and and I do board books for Scholastic for the kids. So if you go on a website, you'll see Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. There's a Little Mermaid board book I've done. And those I was strictly the writer on. One Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends featuring Black Panther. You know, we freelance over here too. So we do a lot of stuff, right?
Eh,
Um
guys got
so yeah,
plugged into
and then
everything.
at 133 Art or at 133 Art Publishing on all the social medias.
All right, guys. This has been an incredible conversation with Jason. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your vision, your passion, your storytelling. To everyone
Thanks
watching,
for
make
having
sure
me.
to support One Nation at presale.133art.com.
Yes.
Follow 133 Art, Publish Art Publishing on social media, and keep lifting up the voices of every indie comic con. Okay, guys, we all need your support. And with that, I want to thank you for having this great conversation. It was so cool. Hey,
Yeah.
I like to be able to come back and have some of these conversations because it's like you learn so much and there's so much to learn as you go forward. Thank you for being a part, I guess.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. I look forward. All right. And